The lawyer cleared his throat. It was a small sound, almost polite, but in that room it landed like a warning bell, the kind that rang right before something permanent happened. He didn't look at me when he said my name last. The air smelled of old wood, polish, and expensive cologne. Sharp, confident sense that belongs to men who had never worried about being left with nothing. The conference room was narrow, its windows tall and curtained, as if even daylight had been instructed not to interfere. At the center of the long table sat my father's framed photograph. He wore the same tight smile he'd always used when his mind was already made up. Not warm. Not cruel. Just final. Evan sat closest to the photo. My brother's back was straight, shoulders squared, hands folded loosely on the table. He wore a black suit, tailored within an inch of perfection, the kind of suit that says, "I'm ready to receive what's owed to me." His expression was appropriately restrained, solemn, respectful, almost humble. I sat at the very end of the row. No one had offered me the closer seat. No one had needed to. I didn't look out of place there. I belonged at the edge of things. I always had. My hands rested calmly in my lap. My heart was steady. Not numb, just prepared. I already knew how this would go. The assets. The lawyer began, adjusting his glasses, fingers tapping the stack of papers in front of him, including the primary residence, all liquid accounts, and the majority shares of the company. He paused. Evan lowered his gaze. The picture of modesty. Are to be transferred in full to Evan. There it was. Clean. Final. Surgical. No. Dramatic pause. No. Explanation. No. Justification. Just a sentence that erased me. Chairs creaked as people shifted. Someone inhaled sharply. Someone else whispered, "That makes sense." Of course it did. I was the quiet one, the difficult one, the child who asked questions instead of nodding along, the one who left instead of staying, the one who didn't fit neatly into the story my father liked to tell about his legacy. Eyes slid toward me. They waited for tears, for anger, for the crack in my composure that would make this moment satisfying. I gave them none of it. Instead, I smiled, not the polite smile you use to survive humiliation, not the broken smile of someone pretending to be okay. It was the kind of smile that makes people uncomfortable. The lawyer noticed. He finally looked up. I leaned forward, Calm just enough and for my voice to slicing cleanly through the thick air. "Furier," I said softly, "you really should finish reading all of it." The room went still. Evan frowned for the first time. Not deeply. Just enough to suggest confusion had entered the room uninvited. The lawyer hesitated. His eyes dropped back to the page, scanning faster now, as if he'd just realized he'd skipped a line he wasn't supposed to. Because what no one in that room understood was that my father hadn't given me nothing. He had given me time, and time, when used correctly, is far more dangerous than money. The lawyer swallowed. It was subtle, but I saw it. I always noticed things people thought were invisible. "There is," he said carefully, "an additional clause." Evan's head snapped up. I stayed still. The lawyer continued, voice slower now, more deliberate. "A deferred provision to be enacted 30 days following the initial transfer of assets." Murmurs rippled around the table. Evan leaned back slightly, fingers tightening. "What provision?" The lawyer didn't answer him right away. Instead, he looked at me. For the second air, he read, "There is no immediate material inheritance." A pause. Several people exhaled, relieved. The balance they expected had returned. But, the lawyer continued, "the testator grants exclusive authority over the audit and review process of all inherited assets, businesses, and accounts, beginning 30 days from today." Silence fell heavier this time. Evan blinked. "Audit?" "Yes," the lawyer said. "Full access. Financial, legal, operational. including historical records. My brother laughed once short, dismissive. That's meaningless. Everything's clean. I smiled again, because Evan had always believed that order meant honesty. The lawyer wasn't finished. The authority includes the power to challenge, freeze, or reverse transfers if discrepancies, misconduct, or violations of fiduciary duty are discovered. Someone at the far end of the table shifted uncomfortably. Evan's smile didn't fade, but it hardened. Dad wouldn't do that. No one answered him, because my father had. 30 days passed quietly. Too quietly. Evan celebrated. He moved into the house, announced restructuring plans, took meetings with investors, gave interviews where he spoke about honoring our father's vision. I watched. I didn't interrupt. I didn't warn. I didn't rush. I spent my time reading bank statements, old contracts, side agreements tucked behind legitimate ones, emails archived but never deleted. Patterns emerged. Not crimes, exactly. Worse. Shortcuts. Exclusions. Decisions made in confidence that depended entirely on one assumption: that I would never be allowed close enough to see them. By day 25, I had a list. By day 28, I had proof. On day 30, I walked into the same building Evan now owned and requested a meeting as the appointed reviewing authority. The look on his face when he realized what that meant, that was worth every empty year at the end of my father's table. The meeting room was larger this time. More people. More lawyers. Evan sat across from me, jaw tight, confidence leaking out in small, invisible drops. "You did this on purpose," he said. I shrugged. Dad did. The findings were presented calmly. Misallocated funds. Undisclosed liabilities. Agreement signed without proper authorization. Nothing illegal enough for prison. Everything damaging enough to unravel trust. Investors withdrew. Banks froze lines of credit. Boards demanded explanations. Evan's empire didn't collapse overnight. It eroded. Slowly. Publicly. Irreversibly. The house went on the market. The company split. The legacy fractured. Weeks later, Evan found me sitting alone in a cafe. "You won," he said. I looked up.
No.
He frowned. "Then what was this?" I took a sip of my coffee. This, I said, was time catching up. I didn't take his money. I didn't take his house. I took the illusion that he was untouchable. And that was